Hello, everyone, and welcome to Warriors Ignite live stream. Welcome to 2024. And I just feel like there's some things that we need to do differently this year to really be on a firm foundation in 2024, to improve ourselves, to improve our success for ourselves and for others. And one of those things is self-care. And self-care is actually not something that is selfish. It is actually vital for our success, and it has to be intentional. More often than not, we have such a busy, crazy lifestyles these days that we are the last person on our list if we are even make it on the list because we have so much else going on. But we have to actually make ourselves first on the list. And it's not something that's selfish. It's something that's very important, as I just said. So why do we have to do this? Because if we don't put any effort into ourselves, we let ourselves go in all of the important areas in our life, then we actually are not very useful for anybody else either. So it has to start here. And there's several areas, there's several ways that you can do self-care. I'll just hit on a few important ones here, and not in any particular order. But the first one that I wanted to talk about was relationships. Good relationships are vital to have. People that we trust, people that we know love us, people that support us, people that edify us or lifting us up, people that we can go to, and these relationships have to be intentional. We're going out with them, meeting out for coffee once a week with these friends that love us, that we can talk to and trust. And these friends are hard to find, but they are so important. Mentors like this in our lives, leaders like this in our lives. We should foster having these important bedrock relationships in our lives, because they do all kinds of things for us. They make us feel loved. They bring joy in our life. They are part of our support system. Somebody we can go to. If we have nobody to talk to, that is a sad place to be. And, I've been there, that when who can I talk to? You need those people in your life who you can speak to, who you can trust, who loves you. Actually, iron sharpens iron. These kind of people that that are going to lift you up because they love you. So these relationships need to be fostered. They actually boost serotonin. They boost dopamine. They bring joy in your life. So these relationships, I mean, not to put too fine of a point on it, but they're very essential in your life. Equally as important is to avoid toxic relationships. These are detrimental to us in so many ways. They defeat us. They're energy draining. They crush our confidence. They steal our joy. They steal our peace. They are the exact opposite of, these good relationships that we want to foster and maintain in our lives. So it is okay. In fact, it is essential to set boundaries. And if we have to remove these people in our lives, because who is in our circle can make us or break us. So these people who we surround ourselves with are very, very important. And we need to be intentional about this in 2024. We need to have the right people around us, not the wrong ones. We have to have the people, who can be part of a team if that's who we are. If we have businesses, if we're trying to create businesses, we want to surround ourselves with those right people. We cannot do it by ourselves. Iron Man, just a silly example, but Iron Man didn't do it by himself. Necessarily he had the Avengers, the disciples. There were 12 disciples. These people worked together in groups to bring about good. We each need those groups that we surround ourselves with. We need to set these boundaries. We need to be able to say no, not to be a people pleaser. Being a people pleaser can really be detrimental to us because we never say no. And so we're running around doing everybody else's, what they want, but we're not doing what our purpose is because we have spread ourselves so thin that we leave no time for ourselves, for what God has for each one of us. So being a people pleaser isn't actually the best place to be. So we need to have discernment and know when to say no. This is self-care. You say, how do I make friends? How do I have these relationships? Well, and especially if you're introvert, I'm actually an introvert, but as you get out there, it starts to change, and your environment changes and people around you change. Well, what do? You go out into your local communities. You get involved in local communities, in your church, in your work area. You join book clubs, you join Bible studies. You have to not isolate yourself. God created us to be social creatures, and we isolate ourselves now. It is a social media world. That's where we get our entertainment. Well, that is not how God created us to be. We have to be in these right alignments, these right relationships. It's essential for our self-care and for us to be successful in our lives. So that's one key. We have to be intentional who's in our circle. 2, self-care. A lot of us, we don't even like ourselves. All right. We are God has forgiven us, but we haven't forgiven ourselves for whatever in our life. And we're too hard on ourselves. We are our own worst critics. We are our own worst. We limit ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves. And so we don't succeed outside of the limitations that we put on ourselves. So one of the things that we need to do, talking about the forgiveness part, is we need to forgive ourselves. God has forgiven us. When we ask him to forgive us, he is faithful and just to forgive us of our sins. All we have to do is ask and be in repentance. That's 1 John 1:9. He forgives us as far as the east is from the west. It is his good pleasure. It pleases him to forgive us. So if he has forgiven us, we need to forgive ourselves. He has wiped it away. We need to do the same thing. That is a part of self-care. We need to learn to love ourselves. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. He came here because he loved us, and we need to understand his love, and so that we can love ourselves as well, how much that he loves us. So very important. Forgive yourself. Love yourself. Don't set limitations on yourself. We have created this box. We can't see outside of the box. We need to break down those walls. We can write our own story. The Lord has this incredible purpose for each one of us. We need to believe that. Sit at his feet. Ask him, what is your purpose, your plan for me? Stop limiting yourself. He does not limit you. The enemy lies to you and tell you that you are limited. You can't do this. You can't do that. The Bible says in many different places that he has a purpose and plan for each one of us. In fact, before we were born, he wrote our books for us. He wrote the plan out for him. Wrote the plan out for us. So we have to ask him, show me what's in my book, Lord. I know that you have a purpose and a plan for me. Each one of us has this amazing story, and we have to step into it and believe that we have a great future in front of us. Break those boxes. Step out of that box. Rewrite your story. You say what you want. Put it down in front of you. Write the vision, make it plain so that you can run in 2024. You have a say. Not anybody, not these lives around you. Care enough about yourself to change your story, to change the way you feel about yourself. Love yourself. Create your story. Another thing that we need to take time is to improve ourselves is in our personal growth. We need to, Jim Rohn, who's a motivational speaker who's not around anymore, but I would actually recommend that you go and listen to some of his stuff. He would say that we need to work harder on ourselves than we do work on our jobs. Well, why is that? Is because if we don't put any effort into ourselves, to improve our minds, to increase our skills, to equip ourselves, well, then we're not ever going to be very good on the job, and we're not going to increase in the job. So we need to improve ourselves so we can increase, so we can be successful. People start seeking us out because we have equipped ourselves. We have increased our knowledge. We have improved ourselves in all of the ways so that our skill level is changed, and we are, more of a commodity out in the business world. So we need to start working on ourselves first. And if that means reading, and we know our growth areas, where are we interested in? If it's health, materials in health. If we are our personal growth areas, materials in all kinds of personal growth areas. Listen to people. You say, well, I don't have any time for that. Everybody has time for that. When you're driving to work, when you're driving home, pop in, listen to podcasts about these people in the areas where you're wishing to grow in. While you're doing the dishes, while you're cleaning the house, you have your headphones in, listening to people who are going to help you grow in those areas. There's always time. Invest in books so that you can learn in these particular areas in which you want to grow in. It is important to always be learning. It doesn't matter how old you are. You could be learning. You can be improving yourself. If you're not using your mind, well, then your mind isn't working. You have to continuously be learning and teaching yourself, improving your skills. It's never too late. It doesn't matter how old you are, what season of your life you're in. It's never too late to improve yourself and go out so that you can help others. Never too late. Remember that. Especially if we cannot help ourselves, if we do not improve ourselves, we cannot improve others. It has to be intentional to increase our worth. We need to invest in our health as well. If we do not invest in our health, putting everything aside, if we do not have our health, the rest of it doesn't matter. Our health is essential. The basics. We need to exercise. We need to be out in nature and in sunshine. We need proper diet, of course. We need to be drinking plenty of water. So these things are very important. I know because we have a busy lifestyles, busy schedules. One of the things that we do is fast food. Well, that's easy, but that's not self-care. And that's why we're talking about intentionality. What we put in our mouth is very, very critical. I just have to say, for the way our brain works, for feeling good, for our energy levels, for looking good. So we have to care enough about ourselves to put in that extra effort to plan out what we're going to do. It takes planning. It takes execution. It takes you sitting down and writing out how I'm going to each of my days are going to look, or how this week is going to look, so that I can put in place this healthy diet, that I can put in place this personal growth. It takes routine, it takes intention, it takes writing it down. Avoid things that are going to cause you stress, because this gives you anxiety, it gives you depression, it's going to cause you fear. So, one of the garbage in, garbage out, basically. So what are you putting in your brain that's causing you stress? And a lot of times that can be the news, which is the worst right now. So, and has been for several years now. I recommend turning that stuff off and, spending the time in these self-care rituals that I've been talking about, spending the time in improving yourself and turning off that junk that causes us stress, and just really not worth our time. Take care of your appearance. You know, that's another thing that has happened in our society. We don't, it's not back in the 50s, 40s, we're going way back, but they dressed beautifully all the time, beautiful dresses, just always appearance, didn't matter what, you looked great. The women looked great, the men looked great, suits, ties, dresses, gloves, hats, you always looked your best. Now we're walking around in our oversized sweatshirts and Birkenstocks. You never catch me dead on a pair of Birkenstocks. Those things are so ugly. Take care of your appearance. It is really important. It is also important about how we feel about ourselves. Take time to look your best. Even if we work out of the house, it improves your self-confidence, it improves your self-image, because you look good. It's another one of those things that increases your dopamine levels and your serotonin levels, because you feel good about looking good. Boosts you. It helps you to feel better about yourself. So we should always take time. Seems like a little thing, but it really isn't. We should always take time to look our very best. It's self-care. Take care of your nails. Take care of your hair. Invest in some nice clothing to make yourself look better and feel better. This is self-care. Seems silly, but it isn't. It helps you to feel better about yourself, and also the way other people see you as well. Be willing to treat yourself. We forget to do that. We forget to treat ourselves well. And we need to not do that. Splurge on ourselves every once in a while. Buy yourself that bag. Be willing to. Some people over splurge on themselves and have absolutely no trouble doing that all the time, and they're dead up to their eyeballs. That's not what I'm talking about. There are others of us who never splurge on ourselves. Well, we only get one life. Take care of yourself. Be nice to yourself. It's very important. Another thing that's essential, and the last thing I'm going to talk about here, is getting rest. Especially for us in these busy lifestyles, we're working 7 days a week. We never give our brains a chance to just shut off. And God actually He said 6 days should we do work. On the seventh day, we should rest. He said that He created Sabbath for man, not man for the Sabbath. He created that day of rest because it's needful for us. To turn our brain off, to reset ourselves, to restore ourselves, doing all of these self-care things, being with family, being with friends, being out in nature, spending time with God, self-care, not working, at least for 24 hours. Give yourself that day of rest, because then you've restored your mind. You've given yourself fresh energy, and now you're more effective Monday when you get out there and you go back at it again. It's really quite vital that you give that self to you as yourself as a gift. God gave it to you. We need to allow ourselves to take advantage of it. So those are some tips and some keys and things that really are very, very needful for all of us. It's not selfishness, it's vital. When we increase ourselves, when we improve ourselves, then we are a gift to the world. We are a gift to those who are around us. And we've now been able to lead ourselves. We've been intentional about leading ourselves. And now we can go out there and help to equip others and lead others. And that's what it's for. So again, it does start with you. And you have to do that. It's not selfishness. So I'll leave you guys with that today. I'll see you guys again next Wednesday. Take care of yourselves.